Hello and welcome back to Radio 2. So today we're doing part 10 of 15 for practical programming and making content. In the previous two classes, we spoke about formatics and we spoke about station formatics, how important they are, how to utilize them, how to still be able to be creative while using them, how important they are. And from here, we're taking another step back to show prep. Okay, so to start to the beginning of everything. So if we get into it, there we go. All right, so we will be looking at chapter 11, page 131 up until 148 in Valerie Geller's book, Beyond Powerful Radio. Why is preparing for your show crucial? Why is it crucial for you to know what's going to happen within your show? A general would never go into battle without a plan. You're not going to go write an exam without a pen. Okay? A surgeon would never go into the operating room without preliminary workup. And despite all of this, it's surprising to see how many presenters will actually show up for work and just simply wing it, wait and see what happens. Some days in that situation, you might get lucky. But for winning over the long haul and over again, show prep is essential. If you as a talent are prepared, it does not matter whether you walk in a minute before you go on air. The prepared host can still do a great show. It's never an accident when a show is number one. That takes very hard work and commitment. The best personalities compile a stack of material from various sources. So articles from magazines or newspapers, written ideas, material collected from the internet, stories that they picked up from life or have observed or overheard, see like various places. When it comes to show prep, everyone has their own way of organizing their materials, but if a host sounds consistently disorganized on air, you need to try coming up with a different system. If a host is prepared but can't access an item during the on-air performance, all that prep was wasted and the show will wander, okay? Will go all over the place. Some presenters are fortunate enough to have trustworthy people, usually producers, who do their show prep and planning for them. What happens here is it then becomes the talent's job to creatively execute someone else's plan. Nevertheless, a plan still does exist. Creative talent are consistently doing show prep. Everything in their lives, what they read, eat, feel, experience, and even dream, all goes into their shows, okay? 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, every conscious waking moment, they'll gather information to recall later or to use on their show. So how personal can you get on air? This would depend on the presenter, but normally the best you can hope for is that they'll just not use your name, okay? If you are in that story. There is a difference between personal and private, and I did mention this right at the beginning of our classes. I'm not sure if you can still remember. No one should be allowed to endanger others or personally harm themselves in any way. Not only can there be legal consequences to giving specific information about people's private lives, but there can be security issues as well. When in doubt, rather try asking, will the story of the car with Picasso in the back seat be as compelling if I don't give the car's make and model? Oftentimes, a little camouflage using the essence of the true story enables a more dramatic and creative storytelling without risking someone's physical well-being or emotional embarrassment. What is your opinion? If entertaining your audience is the goal, then does it really matter if something happened to your wife or to a woman I know? Or another way you can approach it is simply by saying the story you're about to hear is true, but the names have been changed to protect the innocent. Using humor. Humor always attracts listeners, always. Some people are funny. Others may not be funny, but they have great senses of humor. Like I myself, I'm not a funny person, but I have a great sense of humor and I'll often say things which make people laugh. There are also those who are hilarious in private, but are not able to access those parts of their personalities on the air. You could do show prep that improves your ability to be funny on air. For example, you can learn to become a better storyteller. Go and read every book in the library about humor. If possible, attend improv classes. These can be very mind-expanding releases of creative expressions. When telling a story, memorize the specific and colorful details. So tell your truth. Powerful show prep. Show prep can be found in various shapes and forms. If we look at the rules of powerful show prep, the first one there would be go with the moment. This is also known as the rule of out of the window. If you throw something out the window, okay, it's gone. If something spontaneous happened on the air that is better than what you have prepared, go with it. You would happily take a side trip to see the Grand Canyon while traveling through Arizona. The magic moments on radio, a breaking news story or a fabulous caller, happen when you least expect them, and when they occur, it's wonderful. Although there's no substitute for walking into the station thoroughly prepped, you must also be willing to throw that stack of stuff out of the window when something irresistible turns up and simply go with that organic radio on the spot. Secondly, always ask why. Avoid slot filling, okay? Always have a specific reason for wanting a guest. Make sure that you know why the guest is special and what purpose they will fulfill. So ask the producer, what has this person done? Why is he or she special? Always ask if this is someone that you would actually want to talk to off air also. Think twice before you take the easy way and book a guest to fill an hour of airtime. If you've always wanted to meet someone and he or she lives in your town or is coming to your area, then it's perfectly acceptable to invite that person to be a guest on your show, provided that the goal remains to entertain or inform your listeners. Never promise a guest an hour. Instead, just ask for a few minutes of their time. Make it clear that because this is live radio, it's always possible that a guest may be preempted by a breaking story. Why would you do this? You would do this to protect yourself from the potentially embarrassing situation of having to dump a guest if he or she is boring, or if a bigger opportunity arises. How would you rather use a guest? I would rather use them as a way of spicing up the show. Good guests can make a show. They must be gifted communicators with passion. They need to offer new information or have something relevant to say, okay? The best guests are the people who have personal experiences. Someone who has a story to tell rather than just being an expert in their field. They need to have first-hand experience. The next rule of powerful prep is a warning to managers. Many managers like hearing guests on air. It demonstrates that the host and the producer have done some work to book the show, and it might justify their salaries. The only hard rule for powerful radio is be prepared and on time for your show. What listeners respond to is the finished product. Our product is what comes out of the speakers on the radio, okay? So our prep is real, but often invisible. Next up, be prepared. Carry a recording device, a camera, or a notepad at all times. Don't forget spare batteries for that device. If we are working as photographers, we would always have a camera ready. But we work in radio and our platform is sound. When was the last time that you thought to yourself, I wish I had a sound recorder right now? These moments they're small and light. Get one, carry it. I have two. I'm sure you can even use the one on your phone if you have nothing else with you. If you're not comfortable to carry a voice recorder with you, then utilize the voice recorder on your phone, okay? Or just simply carry a paper and a pen. Why do this? Why carry around these things with you at all times? The idea is so that you can jot down or record that idea before it's gone, okay? Great ideas come in the shower, the car, they wake you up at night. Write them down. I tend to get a lot of ideas around 4 o'clock in the morning. So I have notes on my phone because my phone would be close by. So I would pick up my phone, make a note, and then continue sleeping. Okay, and then the next day I still have that note. The next one, Make friends outside of the business. So spend time with, I want to say normal people, but let's say other types of people. If you only associate with journalists and broadcasters, you're limiting your vision. Expand your horizons. Talk to everyone. Your inner circle should contain people outside of the radio and have have a variety of interests and experiences. Listen to them. Find out what they're thinking, what they're worrying about, what they're talking about. This will help your show tremendously. Read everything, watch everything, okay? Find mentors. Hang out from different types of creative people and learn from them. Study creative performers outside of radio. And then know your target. Know who your audience is. Do your listeners have a different lifestyle than you yourself as the host do? Probably so. Perhaps you live in the busy city center, whereas the bulk of your listeners live in suburban sections. You need to know what is going on where they live too. So read their local newspaper. Drive around to get a feel for your area. If there are Facebook pages, follow that area's Facebook pages. Okay, attend their neighborhood functions. Meet people, get to know your city. This is not the lifestyles of the rich and the famous, okay? Even if you don't frequent the local shops, you should know who does. Go to a restaurant or eat where your listeners go to eat. Shop where they shop, okay? Stay curious and alive and stay interested. Take a taste drive. Discuss your show details with somebody else. Prep can be much easier when you have the luxury of working with a talented producer. They can help you focus ideas to help form questions that you will ask on air and points you will make to engage your audience. Try bouncing your ideas off people around you. So the call screener, the news person, the station security guard. It may help you focus on what is really interesting about the topic or to take a different direction. Then a prep warning. Do not do your show before your show. Testing out an idea should not be confused with rehearsing a monologue. Save your actual performance for the live microphone. Why am I saying that? What happens? It'll never sound as good or as natural the second time around. So don't do your whole show before actually going on air. And then pre-produce. Prepare the soundtrack for your show, okay? Any bits or music or whatever that you think you might want to use should be close at hand. Inform the engineer or your producer or the board operator or whoever is there well in advance if you will require any special technical assistance or equipment, okay? Make sure your equipment is working. Double check. Before you go on air with a topic, ask, is it relevant? Does it matter? Do you care? Will the listeners care? What will I do if this topic gets boring? Do I have a fallback plan? And then be generous. If you found a topic that would be perfect for somebody else at your station, pass it along. Leave the article or the book or the note or whatever it might be in that person's mailbox or email them or give them a call. The success of your station depends on the efforts of all its creative members, not just you. And then experiment. So break rules if you can come up with a more successful method. Take what works for you and leave the rest. Okay, when it comes to surfing the web, yes, a lot of management members do frown upon employees surfing the web during their working hours. But if you produce a radio show, you're getting ready to host your radio show. Surfing the web is part of your job, okay? It's literally part of what you need to do. The internet is a wealth of information and the source of material for your show. Nearly every newspaper and magazine is available online. You need to be able to check on trends and on topics and what people are talking about. So you need to spend some time online. This also means you'll never need to guess that water cooler moment for the day because it'll be online. Okay, so some some options that are recommended is that you use firstly Google Trends and Google Insights. A quick visit to Google Trends can tell you what the hottest topics are right now on Google. This list, which is updated in real time, shows you what people are searching across the country in the Google search engine. You can also use Google Insights to determine what people in your market are searching. Google Insights offer the option to view the hottest searches over the last day, the last 7 days, the last 30 days, 90 days, or year. You can also narrow the audience down. You can even narrow the audience down. And then number 2 is Twitter Trends with trendsmap.com. Using trendsmap.com, you can find the most talked about topics on Twitter in your local market. You can see what keywords and topics are being tweeted the most by people who are tweeting in your area. And this is also in real time. And then the last one there, Yahoo Local News. If you're looking for all your community's news in one place, you'll find it on Yahoo Local News. Visit the site, enter your location, and Yahoo will show you the big news stories from all your local news outlets in one page. It's a really quick and easy way to find out what's happening around you. However you research your content, it's important to put in the prep time. This is on page 138. A talent called with a problem. He had overslept on Tuesday, had no time for show prep, and just barely made it in time for his morning drive show. Yet he and his partner had a great show that day. The next day, the talent did 2 hours of show prep and arrived on time, but the show was difficult and out of sync. His question for me was, do I really need show prep? This guy got lucky on Tuesday. His creative side bailed him out, but it won't and can't happen every day. Wednesday he did tons of prep, but all work was informational. He had lots of things on tap, but he had not thought about where to go with them. The answer is, yes, you need to do your show prep, but look for balance and prep your creative as well as your informational side. Okay, so then if we start looking at prep and topic selection, method acting teaches that the actor must convince himself before he convinces the audience. If the on-air personality is genuinely interested in a topic, it'll work better. Presenters organize their show prep in different ways, okay? There's no right way, just the way that works for you. Dig deep for talkable topics or engaging questions. Remember to look beyond page 1 for stories. Take notes from conversations you've had or that you've overheard. Try to come up with at least one story or observation from your life for each show. Remember to ask everyone around you or everyone that forms part of your show also whether they had any personal observations that might be worthy for radio. And then basic preparation techniques are similar for every format. The actual protocol works as well for music as it does for talk radio. Show prep is usually a team effort and not a task assigned to just one person. In most cases, the program producer becomes the official collector of the show prep material, since they are the ones that are more objective than the show's host. Ideally, show prep begins with a review or an air check session of the previous program. Keep in mind that this air check or this snoop session will never happen before your actual show, okay? Because you don't know if it's going to be positive or negative. And if there are some negative aspects in there, that it might influence how you're going to sound on air in your actual show now, okay? And once a week is good with doing this air check. And then the next one there, the producer updates the team on new material that has arrived. This may include items from publications, syndicated radio services, press releases, the internet, and so on. The update should include a brief meeting on the latest news item that may fit into the show. The The availability of in-studio or phone guests should also be reviewed, and the producer should be prepared to provide background information on them. It's also good to look at upcoming major news, sport, and show business events. And then sources. On the internet and elsewhere, the local newspaper only has to play a very small part in your show. You get some teams who hire writers who will generate exclusive materials for your show. So that's also something to look into. And then if we look at topics, decide on a list of topics for the day's program and assign priority. Gather information about items that have caught your attention. Often you might find that a topic which originally sounded interesting turns out to be a dead-end street. On the other hand, with research, you might uncover amazing facts about a subject that might have seemed limited. Then next, production. Pre-recorded material may include interviews with guests not available to do it live, or on the street interviews, musical excerpts, sound effects, novelty voices, featured intros and outros, and highlights from previous programs. Schedule the program elements on paper. Make sure everyone involved get a copy. Each program should be planned in quarter-hour segments, or smaller if necessary. Interview guests are also placed on the schedule at this time. The program schedule should be maintained on a daily or a daily and a weekly basis. A good producer should always have a contingency plan, as last-minute guest cancellations are common. Archives. An essential part of show prep is the maintenance of complete and accurate files. This includes a file of previous daily program schedules, copies of scripts and program ideas, background material by subject, audio files, including full-length recordings of previous programs and edited program excerpts, accurate records allow the team to recycle successful program features. Great guests and new show topics are not always available. A good library will keep the show afloat through slower periods. And then be selective. It's great when you have 10 fabulous ideas for a show, but you only need 4. But how do you know which topics need to make it to air? Is there a set criteria for topic selection? Consultant Jay Albright puts it quite well on page 141. Do something that has something to do with me and my life. It can't be a cliche. It must be original and specific. If it is from your life, I hope that it becomes a metaphor for something about mine, something that moves me emotionally, touches me personally, yet it delivered with spontaneity and the knowledge that my time is important. The less it has to do with me, the briefer or the more moving it has to be. 3 subject areas listeners always respond to are stories about health, heart, and pocketbook. Howard Price uses the following criteria for topic selection. What's in it for me? So me as the listener. Every day, ask, what are people really doing? What are they talking about right now? What are they talking about right now at their desks or at the checkout line or wherever they are? How can my program engage in and advance the discussion? Explore problems and solutions. Unite your listeners with stories of personal crises or extreme viewpoints. Have a vision and vigilance. Have the vision and vigilance to spot trends, take risks, and exploit opportunities. Do one thing or a small collection of things better, faster, or more reliable than any of your competitors. That is what builds your image in the minds of your listeners. When selecting topics, ask Will people expect us to cover this? If your listeners know that you can be counted on for great coverage of sports, health, or politics, then they'll tune into you for those things. They want the answer to the question, what does this mean to me? What does this mean to me? Okay, and then next, use radio's immediacy. Radio can still get more places faster than TV. Do as much live as you can. If there's a current event where you can get a direct call through to the people involved, radio has the advantage, while TV is still trying to push their camera in someone's front door. Pick that topic. Everyone has a telephone somewhere in their house, but hardly anyone has a satellite. But hardly anyone has a satellite hookup in their living room. Use the news. Scan the wires, the magazines, the newsletters, the online services, and the internet for stories that sadden, outrage, inform, enlighten, amuse, or frustrate. Have a friend who has a friend. Always get a phone number. Keep your database updated. Hang on to phone numbers of all sources. Take advantage of all the sources that offer free directories. So the government, the universities, TV and radio stations, PR firms, etc. Keep hot lists of relevant numbers. Today's guest might be tomorrow's source. Ask them to call you when things are happening. Then next, get a life. What a saying. There really is more to life than news, weather, and sports, okay? Explore a broad spectrum of interests. Become a dabbler who knows a little about a lot of things. Be as worldly as your guests and your listeners. And then lastly, people want more than just the facts. They also want to understand why something is happening. Radio is easy when there are a lot of things going on and plenty to talk about. The real challenge of creating powerful radio is making it work on those days when nothing is happening. Sometimes it's hard to find things to talk about that are meaningful or entertaining or relevant or significant. So try not to go like a couple of days back and go and look at old internet articles or old newspapers for context. Rather use your own life experiences. Look inward. Try using stories you've heard from family members or friends. One presenter got on air and told about his grandparents, both in their 80s and somewhat forgetful. They resolved to keep lists of things. One day, Grandma asked Grandpa to pick up some ice cream at the store. And the story goes, do you need to write it down? She inquired. No, just the ice cream, he said. Yes, she replied. I'll remember, he said. Grandpa came back with a dozen eggs, orange juice, a loaf of bread, and waffle mix. I told you to write it down, said his wife. You forgot the bacon. This sort of thing goes on in every family. And the more personal the story, the more universal it turns out to be. Big ears and eyes. Sometimes you may overhear usable material. If a story interests you, find a way to make it interesting on air. Real life stories are all around us. Train your eyes and ears to catch them. Go and sit in a cafe or go and sit in a coffee shop and just listen to the stories about what people are telling each other around you. Okay, you never know what you might pick up. And then bring an idea to work. After you've used up everything in your own life, create powerful brainstorming sessions. Contrary to rumor, genius is sometimes a collective thing. Ideas can be built upon, and they can come from anywhere. A bad idea can quickly become a good one if a couple of heads get together on it. Some of the best ideas come from the least likely sources. Also keep in mind that some people are generators and others reactors. So if a generator starts a story, you might end up with an amazing piece of content because of all the reactors that have gotten involved. And I've given you their 2 cents on the brainstorming session. More ideas on brainstorming come from broadcast consultant Michael Haas, who programmed a radio station in Munich in Germany. He taught his staff that an effective bit of radio includes a statement, so the headlines, elaboration, the details, and a kicker, the climax and the punchline. The seed of an idea can be for any one of those 3. If we look at his brainstorming rules, during the brainstorm, there must be no judgment of ideas. No evaluation or criticism is allowed. Okay, so when you're busy brainstorming, no one's allowed to judge what you're throwing out there because it's a brainstorm session. Okay, you don't know what someone else is going to pick up and do something with. Freewheeling is allowed and encouraged. The wilder and the more courageous the idea, the better. Freewheeling is allowed and encouraged. The wilder and more outrageous the idea, the better. Look for quantity rather than quality. Try to end up with a long list of ideas. In brainstorming, quantity produces quality. Combine ideas. Make each idea better. In this case, only positive building is allowed. Every idea must be written down. If you choose not to write something down, you will have judged it, which violates the first rule, okay? Every person taking part in the brainstorm is of equal rank. There are no bosses, no leaders, no hierarchy. In order to come prepared to the brainstorming table, Haas told his presenters to get a life. Listen to people and other radio stations. Read newspapers, books, magazines. Watch TV, notice the billboards. Look at the ads, the labels, and get ideas. Use your life's experiences, both private and professional, for material. Make friends outside of the media world. Maintain your health with physical fitness and watch your stress. Bring some fantasy and idealism to the session. Have a positive attitude, very important. Use empathy and people skills. Watch for trends. Keep in contact with listeners. Drink at their bars, shop where they shop, eat where they eat, etc. Do not underestimate the value of living in the world as a source of show prep. Communication is more about listening and observing your target listener than it is about talking. Live a life, build off-air relationships, learn to expose your true feelings, be vulnerable, explore your own beliefs, listen to others talk about their values and beliefs. Open a window in the inner workings of varying points of view. Experiment with safely expressing the differing points of view, and then listen to what happens. So one man who never seems to run out of show prep ideas is one of New York City's radio station morning personalities, Scott Shannon. And he has the following to say: there is no cookie cutter formula. You have to hit the listeners over the head with what you are doing. Make your station sound different. I've always been able to figure out what people like, what's going on, or what's going to catch on and be popular. Stay ahead of the curve. You could call me a super active consumer. So this is his list for creating powerful radio. Carry a recording device and camera at all time. Read everything. Watch everything. Learn your computer and all your equipment. Answer your own telephones and talk to listeners. Hang out with normal people. Seize the moment. Create talk. Always remember these 3 words: preparation, concentration, and moderation. That brings us to the end of this lecture. So just to bring it all together again, to summarize, The key lecture points for this lesson was, firstly, show prep is essential, okay? Hopefully you've realized that by now. Secondly, if a talent is prepared, they can do a great show. Thirdly, the best personalities compile a stack of material from information sources and use stories from their own life. Then number 4, creative talent is constantly doing show prep. Number 5, humor always attracts listeners. Comedy emerges from specifics. Number 6, tell your truth. Number 7, seize the moment. And number 8, always carry a recording device. What I want you to do for me for our next lesson is to send me information about subjects, so topics or information that you believe would be interesting to hear on the radio, and we will discuss these in detail. Okay, and with that I say goodbye until next time. Bye.